I repeat, don't never count out the Iowa Hawkeyes. Don't you ever do it.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
This game has to be a microcosm of both seasons for the Iowa Hawkeyes and for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I first want to start on the side of the home team, with the boys in red, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. You could put any quarterback, I believe, back there in this offense for Nebraska. You could probably put Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams. You could put some of the best quarterbacks in the country back there, and they'd find a way to let the ball slip out of their fingers, because it's been that way all season long for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's been Heinrich Haarberg. It's been Jeff Sims. It's been Chubba Purdy, even though Chubba has been the better quarterback, the best quarterback for Nebraska all season long. I know it's not setting a high bar, but yet he has still found a way to turn the football over to the other team. Like, you look at Chubba coming into that game against Maryland. Interception down by the goal line. And in this game, defensive lineman drops back in coverage, throws it to him. Big run leads to a Marshall Meter field goal. And that's exactly how this game was going to go. And a guy that's never kicked this season kicks in for Drew Stevens and puts it through the upright. So it's been turnovers. That has absolutely killed the Nebraska Cornhuskers this season. Okay, this is a team at one point in the year was 5-3. And despite losing the turnover battle every single game, they were looking okay with teams like Michigan State and Maryland and some of these winnable games down the stretch. But they lose 4 consecutive games to finish the year. For the Nebraska Cornhuskers, you got to figure it out on defense, man. There is absolutely no doubt about that. In this game, it proved to me these defenses are outstanding. Both of the defenses are great for both Iowa and Nebraska. The Huskers have got it figured out. Their main objective this offseason might be retaining Tony White as defensive coordinator, because they've got a lot of young guys coming back on this defense that can maybe make this defense even better. Maybe it can be one of the Big Ten's best defenses next season, but they got to figure something out on offense. They got to figure something out at the quarterback position. Is it going to be true freshman from the Omaha area, Daniel Kalen, coming in and make a difference? I don't know. You might have to go to the portal once again to figure things out at the quarterback position. I want to give a lot of credit as well one more time about Nebraska before I jump into Iowa for this game. There was a block party up front that the Nebraska volleyball front line might be jealous of. Their special teams kept them in this ball game. Right? The Nebraska special teams was the better special teams unit in this game. It's not very often Iowa and LeVar Woods gets out special team, but it happened in this game with a couple of block kicks that kept Nebraska in this game. I just said how much the turnovers affected them, and early in this game, there they were, giving Iowa the short field so maybe they could get a bigger lead, but the blocked field goals kept them in. Brian Buschini having a punt down within the 1-yard line. And then you look at the other side of the coin for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Of course, if you get a block kick, somebody's got to have their kick blocked, right? So that's kind of a couple of negative points for the Iowa Hawkeyes. You look at some kicks out of bounds. It just wasn't a great effort out there. Look, I know it was windy as it pertains to the kicking game, but still, it's something, definitely a plus for Nebraska in this game, but they couldn't turn it into a victory. You go back to the Scott Frost era, it's the same type of stuff. Sometimes you see good things, but it's finding ways to lose. Some teams find ways to win a football game. It seems like Nebraska, for the last handful of years, finds different ways to lose a football game. I said you never count out the Iowa Hawkeyes, and that's exactly what it felt like as this game was progressing towards the end. Okay, without Caleb Brown, when Caleb Brown dropped that pass in the end zone after that injury, he was not able to return in this game. Iowa knew that they were extremely limited on offense. Iowa knew what was going on. And they just had to hang around and lean on their defense. Okay, and get a big run somewhere, and they got one after the interception. But lean on their defense and hope and maybe expect Nebraska to make the turnover late. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what makes Iowa so good. Okay, they're just so disciplined. They rarely make big-time mistakes in a football game. And that's what this one was. Okay, I've made this analogy and this comparison multiple times. Iowa's sitting at the poker table. They look their opponent straight in the eye and say, you're going to make a mistake, and I'm going to take advantage of it. And only at that time is when I'm going to push my chips to the center of the table, and that's exactly what happened with the Iowa Hawkeyes. They find ways to win. They find ways to sneak out with a victory. Boy, Iowa at 10-2. 10-2 after this Black Friday game. They're going to the Big Ten championship game. What a year. There's been so much within this Iowa program this season, from the Brian Ferentz deal to the historically low lack of offense throughout this whole year. But once again, you don't count out the Iowa Hawkeyes. They will always find a way, it seems, in the Big Ten West. They're always going to find a way. I want to talk about a few things with this Iowa Hawkeyes. They did a great job for the most part. I know there was one play where Chubba Purdy was able to break contain and get to the outside and make a play, but Joe Evans and some of these defensive linemen in Iowa did a great job keeping contained. Because if you saw last week where Chubba Purdy, he was able to get outside the pocket, break contain on the outside, and make some plays on Wisconsin. Iowa knew that they needed to keep him within the hash marks. They needed to keep him within the pocket. Because if Chubba was able to get outside, that was just another threat to this Nebraska offense. They didn't have a lot of threats right down the field in this game, but that was one that they wanted to keep to the inside, so to speak. And I thought Iowa did a really good job of keeping Chubba Purdy to the inside. You also got to give credit to Iowa in their coverage down the field. There was one play in this game where Jalen Lloyd beat Iowa deep, and that was it. These Nebraska receivers could not separate against these Iowa defensive backs. Iowa did a really good job in coverage. I said it during my preview that Nebraska needed to try to do what they did last year. They needed to try to hit a big play. Okay, their biggest offensive play in this game was doing that, was stretching the field. Okay, you couldn't just dink and dunk on Iowa and get to a victory, because Iowa was always going to be a sure tackling defense and keep everything in front of them. Hawkeyes knew the game plan. Hawkeyes knew it. We need to contain the run game. We need to do what we do back in coverage, and that's exactly what happened with the Iowa Hawkeyes. So I thought they did a great job in coverage and containing Chubba Purdy in this game. Look, we all know what next week's going to be. All right, Iowa fans, look, you're probably going to lose the game. Okay, in fact, you are going to lose the game. I mean, I'm just going to come out and say it. Right, Michigan and Ohio State are superior teams, are national championship caliber type of football teams. But what this Iowa team has accomplished, being forever Big Ten West champions, is something that you shouldn't take lightly. What they've overcome during this season has been a lot. Kirk Ferentz definitely should be in the Coach of the Year running, if not the Big Ten Coach of the Year. I thought he's done a fantastic job as a leader of this football team, keeping this football team together when there was so much going against them kind of on the offensive side of the ball and all the Brian Ferentz stuff towards the end of this season. Kirk did a fantastic job keeping them as one, keeping their goals in sight, and that goal was to be the final and forever Big Ten West champion. Look, I know there's going to be more Big Ten West games on Saturday, but this is a great way for the Iowa Hawkeyes, maybe the ultimate Big Ten West football team and football program, to send out the Big Ten West.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.